How important for you is to educate young Roma people in the history of Roma and Sinti, especially in the context of Holocaust?
I think it's very important for every young person to know the history of their people they belong to, and especially for the traumatic history such as the Holocaust history. As a young activist, when I started 20 years ago, I was learning about two events. One was April 8th, and another one what was happening in Auschwitz and during the Second World War with our people. So learning about genocide was giving me information I couldn't learn in school. That's why in the absence of education in schools where young Roma can learn about what happened to their ancestors, it's very important to have events like this and alternative sources of information so we can build this collective memory among the young people and in particular among young Roma people.
You are the president of newly established Roma Foundation for Europe, which is based in Brussels. Could you briefly describe the history of its establishment, introduce the foundation, its goals, its work?
So the foundation is a result of many years of investing in Roma leadership and Roma organizations. So after 30 years of support by the Open Society Foundations, we came into a moment where the four major transnational initiatives seeded by, established by and initiated by Open Society Foundations are led by Roma. So we looked at that perspective and decided when we saw how Roma Education Fund is evolving, European Roma Institute for Arts and Culture, Roma Economic Development Initiative and a new initiative on political participation that is called Roma for Democracy. We saw this evolution and we decided to transform what was internal department in Open Society Foundation into fully independent foundation supported by Open Society Foundation as a kind of a core element that keeps the network of these transnational organizations together. Our goals are therefore connected to these organizations, and we want to see strengthening of economic potential of the Roma and our contribution that we make to European economies, strengthening our cultural power and our identity, and being part of this event is also part of that. And the third, building the political power, collective power that we try to develop a higher influence in the political life of our countries.
European Roma do not have a single representative in the European Parliament. This is a situation that last exists here in modern history in the period of 1999 to 2004. Then for 20 years there was always a Roma in European Parliament. What does this mean for European Roma?
This means that we cannot rely on the benevolence of the mainstream parties to give us electable seats for the parliament. We need to turn into our communities, into ourselves, reconfigure our internal strength, reconfigure our internal politics, and come stronger for the next European elections.
What is your advice for young Roma people who have motivation for doing big things in many fields, but they are constantly knocked down due to stereotypes present in media and arts around the world?
My message is simple. Don't let them knock you down. You have to raise your head, you have to raise your voice and build collective strength. This is the only way forward. We cannot divide anymore ourselves into young and old, Roma of Muslim religion, Roma of Christian religion, Roma of this country, of that subgroup, of that subgroup. We need to learn how to build greater political power if the times are worse and our cause is getting weakened. So there is no other way. They push us down, we have to raise up.
And the very last question is, what is right now your plans for the future with foundation?
Our plan is that we find new models of how we develop economic power within our communities by investing in vocational training, in learning for the new skills and new jobs that are opening in the area of green and digital economies. We also want to invest in our business people, in our entrepreneurs, to start generating greater purchasing power and greater economic activity in our communities. We also want to invest in our voters and elected representatives, so we learn from the lesson of these European elections and go stronger in the next elections in the future. And we want to invest more in European Roma arts and culture by building our self-awareness, self-definition and identity.